All right, my friends, this is the brand new Sony Xperia Z3 Compact. This is going to be an honest look, a fanboy-free review of the new flagship powerhouse compact phone from the guys at Sony. So stay tuned for my likes, my dislikes, my criticisms, and my comments on the new Sony Z3 Compact. Okay, finally, let me tell you guys how excited I am for a normal-sized phone. You know, things have been so big and so out of hand lately with Android, with phones becoming 4.5, 5.5, 6 inches now with the Nexus 6, that it's gotten a little bit ridiculous. I mean, I can't hold phones that are that big. You know, my limit is probably the 5 inches in the Nexus 5, and this phone's gonna appear a lot in this video because of my comparisons between these two phones. The 5-inch Nexus 5 is probably as big as I like to get for my phone. The 4-inch iPhones in the 5 and 5S were too small. I think the 4.7 inches on the on the new 6s is a great size, and I think the 4.6 inch on the Sony Xperia Z3 Compact fits quite nicely. It's maybe that baby bear just right size from the Goldilocks days of fairy tales. Sony has done an excellent job on the design of this phone. It is one of the nicest, if not the nicest, designs in Android handsets that I've seen in the last year at least. We've got a polycarbonate body. The thing feels solid. It is waterproof. All these little ports and things are sealed by rubber flaps. It does not, even though it is a plastic construction and the device is not sort of quote-unquote premium like aluminum, like HTC or like iPhones, it definitely does have a premium feel to it. The phone feels solid in your hand. It's robust. It doesn't creak like Samsung in their plastic Galaxy phones. It's not flimsy. I don't know if it will bend. We're not going to go through with that. But the device feels good. It feels like a premium smartphone should feel in your hand. There's no camera bump. The camera is nicely inlaid into the back of the phone. There's no sharp edges like on the older square iPhone 5 and 5S. The roundness along the bezel here feels good to hold on to. It has a nice sort of shine to it that you can see here in the video. The design just screams premium, especially things like the camera button. You can see it's sort of etched with the little logo, the little icon for power, the volume rocker here right next to it, nice and clicky. The phone just feels great. I like having the power button there. It's nice to sort of hit with your index finger. I think it's a nice place to have it. You know, top is okay, but on these bigger phones, it's nice to have it on the side. Other features of the phone on the outside that I really like: dedicated camera button. That's always good to have. Phone is off, you know, hold the camera button down, all of a sudden, boom, jumps to the camera. So really quick, easy access to the camera button there. Front-facing camera. Rear camera is a 20.7 megapixel Sony camera. Excellent quality. We'll get into more of that later. NFC is included. Wireless charging is not included. That's probably one of the downsides to this phone that I'm going to talk about compared to like the Nexus 5, which does offer wireless charging. There is micro USB, which is sort of under a flap, which is kind of a pain to get to, but for waterproofing you have to have that. Does also offer expandable storage with a micro SD slot right there, which is nice. SIM is a nano SIM, which is under this flap. Here there's a little tray, also in a waterproof port. And I believe this is a connection for a gaming sort of handset control. You sort of attach the phone to it. I'm not a gamer, so I won't use that. Standard 3.5mm audio headphone jack there, microphone ports top and bottom. Also, very awesome feature, dual front-facing stereo sound. Great, awesome quality. Really, really nice to have that as opposed to like the iPhone, which is on the bottom, or the Galaxies, which are typically on the back of the phone. So just jumping into what 4.6 inches means in terms of screen size and phone build size. Again, this is a 5-inch Nexus 5 in comparison. You can see that it's close, but it's substantially smaller. It is smaller in height, it is smaller in width, and obviously smaller in screen size. Thickness, I don't know the exact dimensions. I would call them very, very similar in thickness. I would call them actually very, very similar in weight too. This sort of thinner plastic construction sort of sounds hollow on the Nexus. Xperia might actually even weigh a little bit more, but it's not any noticeable difference. Like if you picked up both of these phones in your hand, it'd be hard to tell which one actually weighs more. Color-wise, this is both the orange or red color, depending on what how you see things with your own eyes. I like the red. I like red, and I like the color on both these phones. One sort of downside to the Sony is I do actually have some scratching in the back of this phone already, which is unfortunate. I've only had it for a few days, and this back cover or material is actually starting to get scratched up. So if you don't run with a case like I don't, you might end up experiencing some scratches on the phone. But overall, the quality and construction is very, very good. Again, screen size 4.6 compared to 5 inches. You can see the difference. Again, I have average size hands. Thumbs can reach most things, if not everything, on the Xperia. I need to struggle a little bit on the Nexus with some jostling here, but not a whole lot. All right, let's jump into the software here and tell you guys what's so great about it. The skin in the Xperia Z phones is very, very light. I would say almost like a Motorola Moto X skin. Very, very close to stock Android. There's a little bit of things that you'll notice that's different. Most notably your home button layouts here. Your drop-down menus here are a little bit different than stock Android. Definitely not as in your face as TouchWiz with Samsung. Definitely cleaner than you'd see on most other Android devices that are currently on the market. I've installed the Google Now launcher here, which is really nice to have. It gets you slide over access to Google Now, as well as the built-in Google Now voice controls, where you can say, "Okay, Google Now," and the phone will recognize your voice. There is a little bit of lag, I've noticed, when opening apps, opening the app drawer, swiping over to get to your Google Now page. That's a little bit frustrating considering that this is a top-of-the-line phone and it is 2014. But when you when you use the Sony launcher that's built in, you won't notice any little instance of lag at all. It is very smooth, very crisp, very clean. Other things to talk about in terms of the Sony built-in user app experience. A couple pieces of bloatware. I did uninstall the majority of them. There were things like McAfee antivirus, other things from Sony. See, there's a news from social feed. There's a sketch app, wireless emergency. There's some TV side view. If you don't really have a lot of other things invested in the Sony ecosystem, you may find these things to be a little bit bloaty and annoying. Some of them can be uninstalled. Some of them cannot be. That's just part of the game with any Android OEM right now. But getting away from the bloat, Android on this phone runs really, really well. So well that it has definitely taken its place in terms of my second favorite phone. And I say that sort of jokingly, but honestly, in the fact that the Nexus 5, and I have this running Android L, is absolutely by far the smoothest, fastest, most clean, most buttery, most amazing user experience I've seen in an Android phone yet to date. And that leads me to another point with the Sony Xperia Z3, that is, well, Android L has dropped for the Nexus. And when is Sony going to decide that it's their time to install to install Android L on their phones? And so, it's a little bit frustrating that when you buy a top-of-the-line phone within a week, literally within a week, it is now outdated in terms of the software, and I have no idea as to when it's going to be updated. That being said, this device does run excellent on the software that it is using, and it is using Android 4.4.4. Very clean, very crisp, very, very user-friendly build of Android. Again, like I said, very little sort of interference from a skin like TouchWiz or even the HTC skins that you've seen on those other phones. Very close to stock Android. Very, very nice to use, and a pleasure owning a Sony device. Another great thing about this phone is the battery life. Sony includes some really, really awesome settings here with their batteries. And this phone, no lie, can get you 2 days of honest-to-goodness use out of it. And it is a joy to be able to have a phone that gets you 2 days of use. And what you'll see that Sony actually lets you do in here is you can come into the power settings and actually change all these little tweaky things. And it's great. It gives you a stamina mode, an ultra stamina mode, a low battery mode, location-based Wi-Fi. You can come in here and change things to your heart's desire. And like when you click on these, you can actually see, it'll tell you how to use it, when extended standby goes on, what apps you can put in standby. Like, you can basically customize the battery settings in this phone to squeeze every single last drop of battery out of this device. And that is awesome. I love the fact that you can do that on this phone. Another great thing, actually, let me just jump in before I get there. I'll show you a screenshot I took actually of last night. the battery and how great this actual battery actually did. So if I go over here, okay, here we go. This is 2 days, 2 hours, and 4 minutes on battery, and it still had 7% left. And this is me using the phone. I mean, this is me going for runs. This is me making calls. This is me, doing things on the phone. This is not just sitting around on the desk, being unused. This is like actual use. And I am thrilled that we have a phone that can do that now. Now that I'm in the camera, we'll talk a little bit about the camera. The camera has a very nice 20.7 megapixel sensor on it. I think I talked about that before. The Sony includes a bunch of different different options here that you can use, different themes, I think they call it. You can actually download different apps for the phone too, which is sort of neat. You don't really see this in many other cameras that or phones that are out there right now. I typically tend to shoot on manual most of the time, but I also do use auto. Some of these other things are kind of gimmicky and they get in the way if you ask me, but they are nice to have, and it is a cool feature. But for me and for more serious photographers, I think they would more prefer to use in manual or automatic. The quality is actually really good. I would consider this phone to be right up there with the iPhone 6 in terms of camera quality. Indoor results are very, very good. I did notice a little bit of banding in a photo that I took indoors with black bands, and I think it confused the camera sensor. I used another phone to take the same picture, and the other phone didn't have that issue, so there's some little things in here maybe they can fix with software in future versions. But for right now, indoor quality pictures are amazing. Outdoor quality pictures are amazing. This phone definitely stands up to the top of the line camera phones right now, like the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. Excellent color accuracy, excellent reproduction indoors and outdoors. A really nice feature, really nice phone, or really nice camera in a smartphone. And so where does that leave you if you're considering buying the Sony Xperia Z3 Compact? Well, if you're a fan of smaller sized phones like me, and when I say small, I'm not talking iPhone small, I'm talking normal size small, like 4 to 5 inches, or even bigger than 4, 5 inches at max, 4.5 to 5 inches. Like I said earlier, the biggest sort of competitor I see to this phone right now is the Nexus 5. Nexus 5 still being sold from Google at $349. Xperia Z3 Compact, I think I paid $529 off contract. So quite a bit of a price difference between these two phones. On paper, the Z3 has sort of quote-unquote better specs. The Nexus 5 is no slouch. The camera in the Nexus 5 is excellent. The camera in the Z3 is excellent. Android L immediately on the Nexus 5, that's a huge selling point right there. No word on updates from the Z3 Compact. I'm sure it will get Android L Lollipop. We don't know when is the problem. Both, contract-free phones, like I said, can be bought on the internet. This one from Sony Style, this one from Google. Screen quality, excellent on both devices. Color, excellent. This is a really tough call for me, guys. I love both of these phones. I love the colors, I love the build, I love the cameras, I love the operating systems, I love just the pocketability, the size of them. This is really difficult. I mean, I'm gonna keep both these phones around, to be honest. They both sort of scratch a different itch. This one is waterproof. It's small, it's bright, it lasts me 2 days. I can go hunting, I can go fishing, I can go out in the snow, I can go out in the woods with this phone. I can take it outside and not be afraid to use it, and take it on trips with me where I know I can get 2 days of battery life out of it. This phone here, the Nexus 5, will get me instant updates from Android. So, tough decision, but the Xperia Z3 Compact is a brilliant phone. I've really enjoyed using it. I'm going to keep it around for a while. I hope you guys have enjoyed this review. Don't forget to check out everything else I have on YouTube, and rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks.